stock car racing. We're going back to the year 1968. Superspeedway-style competition had been around for nearly 20 years, but ABC was introducing this sport to a lot of Americans outside the South through a series of telecasts on Wide World of Sport. Bill Fleming drew the play-by-play assignment, and handsome retired superstar driver Freddie Lorenzen was a natural for expert analysts. Cale Yarborough had already won TV races at Daytona and Atlanta. Leroy Yarborough, no relation, won the pole at Darlington and elected to start outside row one. There were no restrictor plates back in this era of wide-open stock car performance. In fact, Chrysler's potent Hemi-head engine, which would eventually be banned because it was too powerful, was allowed to run twin carburetors for the first time at this race. Goodyear offered this new superspeedway tire for Darlington 23 years ago. Expert analyst Freddie Lorenzen was amazed at how wide and slick it was, though you might be forgiven for thinking it doesn't look a great deal different from one of today's street tires. Oh, and one more thing. Don't be misled by the notion that cool suits are new technology. Paul Goldsmith wore this one in 1968. Now let's join Bill and Freddie for the Rebel 400.
Leroy Yarborough is the fastest qualifier. He's on the pole today at 148.850. Here's Bobby Allison of Hueytown, Alabama, driving a new Ford Torino today, car number 29. The veteran Darrell Derringer in the 68 Plymouth Roadrunner. David Pearson driving a new Ford Torino with the smaller 396 engine, and Cale Yarborough in a new 68 Mercury Cyclone. And Richard Petty, last year's Rebel 400 winner. Right now, things are kind of quiet in pit row. This is the famous Wood Brothers crew. And it gives us a chance to talk to Dick Hutcherson, crew chief of David Pearson. Well, Dick, as a former driver yourself, perhaps you are better qualified as a pit crew chief than anybody else, simply because you can interpret what that driver, in this case David Pearson, really wants in that car. He knows how the car is handling, and you can interpret it better than anybody else. Would you say that's right?
Well, Bill, David and I just run enough races now where I think that I can just about answer his questions before he asks it. And I know by being a driver before what he wants to know and what he needs to know according to win the race, you know. And the pit stop is real important. I mean, that can win or lose a race. You can make up 10 seconds in the pits a lot easier than you can make it up on a racetrack.
I would think, too, that tracks vary as far as pit stops are concerned. Now, here you have a narrow track at Darlington, which means maybe a lot of fender bumping, a lot of metal. It's got to be pulled away from tires. So it's kind of a specialty here, isn't it?
That's right, Bill, and everything's worked out pretty good for us this year. We've had some real fast pit stops all the way from down to 18 seconds. And so far, David's been the only car here that hasn't hit the wall yet. And, of course, I know he will before the race is over, but I think we've got as good a chance of winning as anybody here.
One thing is for sure, with this color in the pit, David isn't likely to overrun it.
He'll never miss us, will he?
And now as the cars get set to move out, let's set the field. Leroy Yarborough on the outside of row one. He is the fastest qualifier, has chosen that outside spot. On the inside is David Pearson in car number 17. Then moving back to two is Darrell Derringer and Bobby Allison. Then Donnie Allison and Buddy Baker in row 3. Donnie Lund and Kirk Turner in row 4. Cale Yarborough and Charlie Glotzback in row 5. Richard Petty and Bobby Isaac in row 6. James Hilton and John Sears in row 7. Row 8, Elmo Langley and Paul Goldsmith. Bud Moore and Bill Champion in row 9. And row 10, James Thomas and E.J. Trivett. Now as they come around, getting into position for the start. And here they come. The green flag is out. It looks like it's going to be a race to the first turn.
It sure is, Bill, and we're going to see which was the wisest, Pearson or Leroy.
And it looks like Pearson. Pearson hangs on to the inside, and Leroy goes just a little bit high as they head to the backstretch. It's Pearson around that first turn, around number 2, and into the backstretch, into the number 1 spot. So, Fred, I guess that seems to be the charm of Bonaduce today.
I guess so, and I think David's very happy he's shown it.
There you see how they have to go single file as they go into these turns. There isn't too much room to pass on this race course. As they come around for the first time out of the number 4 turn, coming close to the wall up there, and at the end of the first lap, officially it's David Pearson in first place, Leroy Yarborough, then Bobby Allison, Darrell Derringer, Buddy Baker, Donnie Allison, that's Cale Yarborough back in about 8th spot, and he's followed by Richard Petty. And this must really be a thrill as they come down that chute and then come into just a little tiny one-lane curve.
Well, all your passing's really got to be done on that front stretch, though. It's about the only place in the racetrack.
Look at how close they're running. There's Bobby Allison on the inside. Right next to Leroy Yarborough. Now, did he get him?
He should have really made his move in the front. It's awful hard in the back. I doubt it, Phil.
Yep, there goes Leroy. Just a little bit ahead as Bobby has to back off, going into single file into that turn. So it's David Pearson in car number 17, and there's a car blowing. That is car number 88, entered by Serge Adams, and I believe Bill Camp was in it.
Yes, the 88 is. Bill, he had trouble with his own car and blew an engine the last day of practice, so he took over this car, which is also owned by Neil.
All right, that means one car out of the race right now, but still no caution flag, and that's fortunate with the blown engine. Here's a pretty good battle between Tiny Lund and Richard Petty. They like to go at each other a little bit, and a little smoke coming out of Tiny Lund's truck. So we'll keep our eyes on that. And a spin up here. Car number 52, Letty Waldo from Cleveland, Ohio. Around he goes, still no caution flag. And that is very fortunate. At this stage of the race, two cars already out. David Pearson hanging on to the number one spot, followed by Leroy Yarborough and Bobby Allison. We'll be back with more of the Rebel 400 in just a moment. For the first 10 laps, 143.063 miles per hour, and believe me, here at the Darlington Raceway, that is really moving, Fred.
Sure is, Bill. It's almost as fast as qualifying lap was a year ago here, and I surely look for a new record at the end of 400 miles.
A lot of good personal viewing going on. This is for 11th and 12th place between Goldsmith and Bud Moore. They've been dicing it back and forth, and there are about 8 cars up there, and 50 yards out the leader. The leader, David Pearson, has won 4 races this year so far, but has not won at Darlington in his entire career. Matter of fact, David has not won in the super speedway since 1961, so he's had a long drought. In second place is Leroy Yarborough, and Bobby Allison is running third. Buddy Baker, Donnie Allison, there's Tiny Lund. And a spin up here, it is Bobby Allison. Bobby Allison throwing metal off the car, spun around. The right front is wobbly. And Fred, I don't know what happened, but he definitely is in trouble.
Himself and Buddy Baker were running quite closely together through turn 2, and then I lost sight of him, and then I saw him spinning. His right front tire was flat, so we'll just find out when he hits.
And he's there right now with his pit crew swarming all over the car, and they're going to take the right rear off. And boy, that tire is hot, Fred. Look at that crewman down there, and they're bending out the metal. Apparently he's running against the tire, but he's off and on his way, losing about a lap and a half in the process. So we have David Pearson, Leroy Yarborough, and Bobby giving up his space to Buddy Baker, and Donnie Allison is running in the number 4 spot, those 4 cars right together, and then Cale Yarborough is right behind them. Quite a race here in the opening stages at this sleepy little community in Darlington, South Carolina, and there is Leroy Yarborough and Buddy Baker both going by David Pearson. Whether he backed off intentionally, we don't know, but both Leroy and Buddy Baker went by him, and now Pearson has dropped back to 4th or 5th spot as both cars, Donnie Allison and Cale Yarborough, go by him. Oh, wait a minute, you see that? Cale Yarborough hit the wall.
He sure did. He's been trying to move up high into that groove, so he just catapults down that straightaway. It gives him the momentum to run faster down the chute, and he just got a little bit too high.
Whew. An anxious moment for the Cale Yarborough fans. He's apparently all right. We're going to keep our eye on the car, but it seems to be right up there with the others as far as speed is concerned, with Leroy in first place, Buddy Baker, then Donnie Allison, and Cale Yarborough. The first 4 cars right now. David Pearson running back in the number 5 spot, and look at this.
I might add, Bill, Buddy Baker has really moved up here, and he's really putting the pressure on Leroy.
I bet he's going to get him there for just a moment. The official report on Bobby Allison is that he had contact with Buddy Baker and spun, but he's still in the race. And Buddy Baker putting the heat on Leroy Yarborough. So it's promising to be a hectic afternoon here in Darlington, South Carolina. We'll be back with more of the Rebel 400 in just a moment.